Greetings, everybody, and welcome to Blind Level Tech, where we bring home the bacon and the bites. And I will have an explanation for that outline momentarily, because we today are joined by David Ward. And if you haven't heard of him, but you've heard of the Echo Tips podcast, well, technically you have, because he's produced about 400 episodes of said podcast. And we'll get to more on that later, but welcome to BLT, David, and thanks for that very on-the-spot tagline. I think that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, man, it's good to be. Yeah, it's good to be here. It's awesome, man. Yeah, and that just for the listeners' background, I was talking about possible promos for the show with sizzling bacon sounds in the background, and BLT brings home the bacon, Blind Level Tech, or something like that.
Something funny like that. It's better than the ones I'd come up with. It's always something I bring up. I'm like, hey, I have a tagline this week, but I haven't, I don't know. I kind of like it, but it just sounds too formal. And I'm like, yeah, we bring home the bacon in the bites. It's like, okay, first of all, that sounds cool to say, but it's just, you want something that catches people's ears, It's like,
yeah. I do love a good BLT. Yeah.
I'm more of a ironically, I'm more of a BLP guy. I like pickle instead of the tomato, but
I've never tried that, but okay. Yeah.
It's pretty good. And actually, if you do it with, oh goodness, I don't know, I'm thinking yeast bread. Good Lord, it's got
potato bread? No?
Close, but
rye?
Rye bread, yeah.
Rye!
It's actually really, really good with rye bread because the flavor of the rye kind of complements the salty tones of the pickle. Now we're getting into cooking here. The flavor of the bread complements the salty undertones and the crunch of the
Blind
cucumber.
Level cooking.
Hey, we were talking about a cooking show that could be an idea. Be careful. Well, I say not be careful, but you never know.
You got so many options. Blind level exercise, all sorts of different things you can do. Blind level cooking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Blind level breakdancing, just to be extreme. Well, this has sure been quite a fun little introduction. As far as really a technical background, obviously, the Echo has been out since 2014, and you've had your involvement, and really you've been involved in the Echo Tips podcast, but of course your technical background goes way back before that, and we'll cover more of your general background, but really this episode today we're going to focus on really A-Lady and AI in general, because A-Lady really does follow under that category of AI. So, figured we'd just lump them into the same episode. But I'd really like to just start with a very brief introduction of, starting from getting into IT at first, how did that all eventually lead to you becoming involved with Access Tech and eventually, starting the Echo Tips podcast?
Yeah, okay. As far back as I can remember as a kid, I was tearing things down and building them back and Lego and all of that. And, I got, diagnosed at some point with retinitis pigmentosa. It's in the family. X-linked, comes down. So I had diminishing eyesight. I was probably getting services through, public school and middle school, high school. But going around middle school, I really played with computers a lot. This is going way back. I'm talking IBM PC XT and oh my God,
speaking my language.
IBM 386s, 486s. We thought it was amazing when the Pentium came out and Windows 95. So, I was kind of a teenager in those years. And, anyway, I spent a summer washing dishes at a restaurant. That was one of my first big jobs. And I took the money from that and I was trying to apply the age-old, I don't know, is it a Scrooge McDuck aphorism? Work smarter, not harder.
I've heard that. I actually didn't know that would be Scrooge McDuck, but
I don't know. I'm sure it's stolen from somebody else.
But anyway, it could be stolen from a lot of people.
Yeah. So I took the money and I rolled it into buying a book about becoming a computer technician, an A+ computer technician. And then I studied that and then took the exams and got certified. And even then, I was just probably a junior or maybe a sophomore, maybe in high school. And then from there on, I've continued IT. I did network technician stuff, security, IT security. I went to college, got a general studies degree, but always was focused on technology track. And at some point, I decided I really felt more geared towards maybe teaching versus trying to do. I mean, even then, the industry was always changing. I felt like, gosh, as a blind guy trying to keep up with this. And I thought training would be a little more applicable because you kind of cover the context of things, how they've grown. You bring people up to date. And it's something I've been forcing myself to do to get certified, train myself.
Oh, sure.
So I decided to specialize in try and get a certification as a trainer. So I think that's kind of the nutshell. Along the way, I developed, I of course used a lot of software that made, life possible through college. I mean, Zoom text, eventually screen reader stuff. The first iPhone I had was specifically because of the voiceover.
And so it was probably the 3GS.
Yeah, it was a 3GS, man. It was a 3GS, man. Yeah, that's going back a ways. That was before Siri, ladies and gentlemen. Yep. And Siri was a separate app at that point. Apple later bought them. But yeah, I developed an iPhone app at one point called Braille Sonar. And I sold that for a little while and then kind of shut that down, shuttered it for a while. I've actually recently resurrected it a little bit as a free web app right now. But then I started training in 2015 as an AT trainer for a nonprofit here in Roanoke, Virginia. And I did that for close to 10 years, working with the BVI community here, doing training and with the radio reading service that we were kind of partnered with as well. So I think that's a nutshell. Hopefully.
That's a walnut shell. That's great.
Yeah,
thank you.
Okay.
And yes, 3GS. That's like the last classic, in my opinion, the last like classic design iPhone.
Oh yeah.
Because the 4 is when they kind of got all, aluminum and glass with the new Retina display, had the first front-facing camera, first phone that could do FaceTime. I used to think the S when I was a little kid, so I thought the S in the 4S stood for Siri. I didn't know at the time about the 3GS. And at the time, I also, of course, didn't know that Apple has been using that S branding long ago, really going back to the 2GS, probably one of my favorite vintage Apple computers. But rather than going down that rabbit hole, I think it'd be worth at least asking the question, having a technology background is one thing, but when you work with, working with students and the experiences that you got, is there anything that or that just really working with them in general taught you about either devices and technology, both like in a general and an access technology standpoint?
Well, I think a lot about, I learned the value of trying to meet students where they're at.
Yes.
And just, little baby steps sometimes, and recognize that some people, especially the group I often worked with, which were connected either with a radio reading service or the way I'd like to think of it here, wouldn't get assistance from any other state organization. In other words, maybe they weren't on an employment track, or they were retired, or they weren't on a college track, so the local department for the blind and vision impaired, as well-meaning as they may be at times, just, didn't have the funding to really assist them in any way. But we had all these new tools, like you just talked about, like the iPhone. What?
Right.
You can do what with your phone now as a blind person? And then Siri, which made it the barrier to entry much easier. I mean, I had a 90-year-old who he used Siri to do everything, to call people and everything. And other than that, he couldn't do much with voiceover other than launch his tuning app to tune his guitar. But it was a huge thing to him. And then Alexa came along, the Amazon Echo. I said her name. So that was really great, because I think it made things easier for people. And people that wanted to advance beyond that, they kept pushing the boundaries, and I kept, feeding them a little bite chunks. Let's learn about this week. Let's learn about Facebook. Let's learn about how to check your bank and see what your balance is, or whatever the case may be. And we could advance. And others who got comfortable at a certain place, I didn't try to push them. It maybe something new would come along, and I would share that with them. I just try to meet people where they're at and recognize that everybody doesn't have the aptitude that you might think you have. It's like me in foreign language.
Yes.
If you ask me to speak French or Spanish, I learned in high school. I have no aptitude for foreign languages. They don't
Ditto.
make any sense to my brain, but math and other things, I can, but not foreign language. So that was kind of an interesting lesson for me about interacting with people.
Well, I'm actually very glad you said that because having having experience teaching folks of various ages technology, it is that kind of realization that what might be extremely easy in a walk in the park for you might be like running a marathon for the other person, even if for somebody that hasn't touched voiceover. And I just have to go back to the old days when I first held like the first ever iPad I'd ever seen, and it was the original iPad. And I had no idea what double tap meant. I used to think it said double tab, and I'm like, wait, there's no keyboard. And then it said home button to the right. So I'm like, wait, is this, 9-year-old me was like, wait, is this thing a joystick? Do I have to like push it to the right? And then all of a sudden this thing started playing music. I'm like, what did I do? And it turns out, of course, I 2-finger double tapped without realizing it. But, that was literally like the first time I picked up and done anything with voiceover.
You're making me feel so old, Evan. You really are. You're making me feel really old.
Hey, it's okay. I would have loved, everybody that's listened to the show knows that I would have loved to actually have grown up with a machine, and my dream machine would have been, would have had a nice Sound Blaster 32, a Deck Talk, and Windows 98 SE. And if I could still get away with using that, I would, because of a rabbit hole I won't go down, but Windows 11. And anyway, that's a bit dangerous. So you actually did talk about pretty much what became the next big voice assistant after Siri. I mean, yes, we've had the Google Assistant, and yes, you did say the wake word. I may bleep that out, but then the idea of listening to, I wouldn't hear it, but the thought of everybody's echoes going ding all at once is very appealing. So maybe not. Who knows? So really, as far as comparing Alexa, there we go. I just said her name. All right. So comparing A-Lady early on to just other assistive or access technology that you were teaching students, regardless of their age back then, what kind of differentiated A-Lady from everything else that you were used to training on?
Let me think about it. And I will try to use the word, I do on the podcast all the time, A-Lady, instead of saying the actual name.
I like A-Lady. I just am so used to saying it.
So what made it different? Well, it was so approachable. Very approachable. I mean, once it's hooked up, just interacting with it, it was something you could show to anybody, despite their age, how youthful they were, a little kid. You might remember little kids ordering Barbie houses back in the day, or
parrots.
Seniors. Yeah.
Even parrots could use it.
Yeah, it was an amazing tool. And it wasn't long after it came out that the price point was amazing too. I mean, the original Pringle can was kind of almost like, I don't think Amazon knew where they were going with, because it was originally like $150 to $200 device. And, but soon as they came out with like that $50 entry point with a dot, wow. I mean, dude, we look back at talking alarm clocks beside our bed and all these other tools, and every single one of those would have been $100, $200. And now we have this little device that can tell me the time, tell me the weather, check my calendar. I mean, just if you stop there, that would be enough. But then all the other things, it can wake me up to music. It can tell me to take my medications throughout the day. And then you get into the skill store, a whole ecosystem that like exploded, like the iPhone App Store there at one point. It was phenomenal. I don't know if they'll recapture that magic again, but wow, it was just so approachable to people. And the iPhone was very simple too with Siri, but you have to admit, even back then, I mean, an iPhone was a $500, maybe a $400 investment if you got maybe a cheaper one. So it was so approachable. All you needed was internet. And I just think that was a real boon to our community.
Yes, it really was. And the first time I'd even heard about this thing, I was like, wait, Amazon Echo, what is this? And it was actually from somebody who I'm really hoping to have on the podcast that goes by Gallagher123123. There's a lot I've actually gotten from his channel, but let's be honest. But I mean, really, yeah. Going back to the Pringle, I like that you call it the Pringle can echoes because they literally are the exact size. I've always called them the water bottle, but I think it does look more like a Pringles can.
Yeah, they had amazing sound. They still do. I mean,
they sure do.
Amazing speakers in there. Yeah,
I still have one on my bathroom counter, and it still works just as well. I mean, it doesn't have the plus upgrade that we will save for a few minutes later from now, of course. But at the same time, when it first came out, too, I had that same feeling like, whoa, this is kind of the concept of having a speaker that you could just ask it questions and you could just seamlessly, if I wanted to say play, well, at the time, it was play Blind Bargains on TuneIn, it just knew. Of course, the thing I loved about it is it would just autoplay. So I'd put that on and then I'd usually end up, listening to a couple episodes. I'd catch up and then fall asleep because it would autoplay. And I miss those days because, at least for me, my introduction to the Echo really was the Dot, but it was the second gen. Did you ever get to see the first gen Dot, just out of curiosity?
Oh, yes. We would call that the hockey puck design. Is that what you're talking about? The original hockey puck was all plastic.
Yep. I think that's the second one.
Yeah, they made a couple of colors, and then later they kept with the hockey puck, but they added the cloth kind of around the edges, and then eventually it transformed into the what I would call the snow globe design.
There you go. I like that. I call it the orb, but I think it does look like a snow globe, or the Magic 8 Ball.
Magic 8 Ball. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that is definitely true. And I feel like the plastic hockey puck, I mean, a lot of us call them those because they're the exact size. You could probably take the foot off of one and use it, in a pinch if you really wanted. You'd smash it to pieces, but would be kind of fun.
They did have one redeeming quality. They had that audio jack out on them, which was super cool that you could pipe that into other things. Or I had students who maybe were in nursing home environments or something, they could plug headphones in to and not bother their roommate or something. So,
we had a lot of folks that actually requested that. And annoyingly now, because I mean, they kept that until the 4th gen and even made it in the 4th gen, they made it both a headphone and or a line in, depending on what you wanted to do with it. But then they completely just yoinked it from the 5th generation. But we have had people just say, hey, do you have an Echo Dot with the headphone jack on it? And so, unfortunately, I don't know if they sell the Echo Flex anymore or Echo Input, which was that dedicated one that you could just plug into your stereo system. But I mean, really, since its inception from that Pringles can back in 2014, when you needed to be on a wait list, and when they were, I think they were actually, I remember them being at least 150, if not 200, and they didn't really have skills. And in my mind, at least, if we're speaking of the original pre-plus A-Lady. Her voice sounded a little bit more natural, more recorded back then. And then, it kind of started to get more breathy. It's like comparing a compact to a non-compact voiceover voice.
Everything. It's hard to look back and to remember because, I mean, for its day, I mean, when she first came out in the Pringle can model, as far as a TTS, it was pretty good, I mean, compared to a lot of things
11 lap stuff.
You got to remember how god awful Windows sounded back then, or NVDA was still using eSpeak, and oh my word, so it sounded pretty good. But you're right, it over time it got a little dated, and the new AI voices today, like 11 Labs and stuff. Oh my gosh,
that's a whole different ball game. And I mean, AI as a whole has really been such a kind of an odd, but I guess a simple but yet extremely intuitive, flexible game changer for a lot of things. And I think we'll definitely have, a pretty good focus on that later on. But just to finish that original point I had made with the Echo Dot, the hockey puck one, I guess, was a 2nd gen, and they really did. There was actually one before it, and the speaker was horrible. And it maybe sounded like the original Apple Watch, but it had a volume dial that could turn, which was interesting. It was the only Echo Dot that ever had that.
Yeah, the audio on those early ones were kind of rough.
I mean, they'll get you by with alarms, right? But that's about it. But
they really weren't the greatest. Now, when they had the cloth one, they had, I think it was a face down or a face up speaker.
Yes, it was.
Depending on its location and the acoustics, it could be okay. Yeah, certainly today, I think there's vast improvement.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very much. And I mean, we could go on and on about, hardware changes and revisions, but I guess all I'll say to just wrap this little rabbit hole up here and kind of move on is that I would venture to say that the new Echo Dots are on par, but they're not quite as good, but on par with the original Echo. And
Yeah.
in some ways they have a little bit clearer sound. So I think, there's definitely reason to upgrade if you have nothing but old Echoes, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think the beauty of it, Evan, is the economy still has stayed there. It's still incredibly economical to get these devices. They've only improved over time. Amazon, I mean, second between Amazon and Apple, their ability to support devices over an extended period of time is quite frankly mind-boggling because it's obviously been a loss leader. I think there's been a lot of reports over the last 4 to 5 years with Amazon lost a lot of money on Echo, but they kept
Yeah.
with it. I mean, they could have easily sold that dot to me for $50 and then next year started charging me $20 every year to continue to use it, but they didn't do that. And so, yeah, I relate. I work with students who were all on Social Security, disability, or SSI, and fixed incomes. So, $50 was a lot of money to them. So I relate to that. But still, it's an incredibly amazing entry point. And if you really need to tweak it, like you said, you can get yourself a pair of headphones. You could get a $20 Bluetooth receiver and then plug it into a stereo system or something, whatever you want,
Yeah.
to get that audio somewhere else. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, a lot of those tweaks really ultimately came part of the podcast Echo Tips. So really, how did the work you're originally doing with students as a tech trainer, well, did it necessarily dovetail into Echo Tips podcast, or was there a different motivation behind that?
So yeah, the way it came about was kind of interesting. So, I was teaching classes and this Amazon Echo thing's coming along. And I had a good friend of mine who is a senior. He was talking all about how he thought it was the greatest thing ever. And it didn't make sense to me, really. Like, I was like, that seems kind of goofy. But anyway, I got into it and I decided this is going to be amazing for my students. And so, we were writing up grants. I was working at a nonprofit and we got some money to buy, I don't know. It was a lot of Echoes. I've set up a lot of Amazon Echoes for people over the years, but it
Nice.
was, I don't know, it was like a $20,000 grant or something. And it included buying Echoes for seniors in the community. So it was really earmarked towards seniors, but that was fine by me because 99% of all the students I was working with anyway that weren't getting help from anybody else, like the Department for the Blind or Vision Impaired, they fit that definition. So we got all these Echoes in, and we handing them out. I'm going to people's houses, setting them up, all of that, doing training, in classroom with them, giving them, large print materials for those that could use them, Braille materials, instructions. But eventually, after my first year doing the grant, I was like, this is going somewhere. This has got a lot of stuff going on, and there's a lot more to learn. And that's when in the second grant, I included money to start the podcast. And I said, what I want to do is create a show where I can teach students ongoing new things. And all they have to do is just walk over to the Echo and learn, well, hey, I'm going to learn this thing from Dave this week about something new I can do. Whether it be how to read the Bible or open WebMD to ask about a medication or whatever the case may be, learn something new. It was kind of really a retention thing for me, helping the students retain and learn some new things. So from that point forward, 8 seasons later, 400 episodes later, the nonprofit merged into another nonprofit, and then that nonprofit kind of shut the program down. But I took the property with me. They let me take the intellectual property with me and continue the show. So I've been continuing to do it myself up until now. So that's kind of the genesis of where it came from.
That's awesome. And
Yeah.
I think 400 is a good round number. I like a nice round number. And that's for a lot of episodes, especially just focusing on A Lady alone, really.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying that because, we're all barely approaching, I think, our 200th episode almost. I mean, in a general sense, not including bonus stuff. But, you know, since you've most definitely covered, I feel like you've covered A-Lady probably time and time again. A-Lady galore, indeed.
Hey, now to be fair, Robin Christofferson is much crazier than me. And actually, he's given me a lot of good advice over the years. And I've done segments for his show as well, and for Blind Bargains and for Double Tap.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, Robin has done like 3,000 episodes. He was doing weekly episode every day, 5 minutes. And me, I'm just doing weekly shows, man. Once a week is enough for me, you know?
Man.
5 to 15.
I barely, I struggle to squeak out a little 5-10 minute BLT bite on Tuesdays. I mean, you know, the main episodes are a given. I don't know how some people do it.
Yeah, Robin, up until like last month, had done like, I don't know, you can go look up the number. It's several thousand episodes. And like last month, he finally announced, hey, I'm going to kind of drop off here for a while, and maybe we'll just kind of put this on the back burner. Maybe I'll release an episode here or there.
Right.
I was like, wow. Well, you've done a lot, man. So I think soon as he gets A-Lady Plus in Britain, which, you know, has a limited rollout, he will probably hear some more from him about that too.
Yeah, I'm sure we definitely will. But I think at least we should hear from you about Alexa Plus. And do you use Alexa Plus currently on your main everyday Echoes?
I do on all my Echoes. Of course, once you turn it on, it's pretty much on everywhere.
Yep.
I did at one time, just for sanity check, did disable it and shut it off and roll back to the classic just to see what the experience was like, and then reinitialize it. And that was pretty. But yeah, I've been using A-Lady Plus since June of last year, I think, or July of last year, 2024. And I tried to get into the beta as early as I could, but for some reason I had no success at all.
Yeah.
But now you guys may recall before there was another preview like a year or two prior, before Panos Panay came on board. I think it was David Limp's tenure when he was walking out the door. He was a former director of that program. They did a limited rollout where Amazon tried to, or you could do beta testing of an A-Lady Plus. I don't think they called it that then. But it was their version of an AI thing. And it was so bad. It was so bad.
It almost made me think like GPT 1.4.
Oh, it had no guardrails on it at all. It would say almost anything, and it would start just lying and hallucinating to you. It was really bad.
It puts all modern LLMs to shame, because I remember that. And it was just, I think they actually had multiple different models, I remember, that you could pick from. And it was, you could just say, you know, hey, lady, let's have a conversation. She would launch into this kind of mode and try to get to know you. But it was like talking to a table. I feel like I would almost get actually more value talking to a table than even that. Because it was, you know, if you think GPT is somewhat a little forceful with its personality, this was a whole different level. But I mean, this is really the early days. Like, obviously, AI has been, as we know it, AI has been around well before that for, you know, I'd say decades at this point. But I mean, as I've said this before, but as far as large language models like Gemini, Claude, GPT and stuff, I mean, that's still, if you think about it in a general sense, compared to other innovations, fairly recent. And
I'd say it really to see the mechanisms and the agentic qualities now. Like you just said, that original A-Lady soft beta, you had to say something cornballish like, A-Lady, can we talk live or something? And then you went into this special mode, like you said, and you could talk to her, but she couldn't do anything. And I mean anything. She couldn't add things to your calendar, look at your calendar. It was pretty much like if you wanted to ask her trivia or something, that's about all you could do. But yet, Panos Panay came on board, and I don't know how much of this was already baked by the time he came on board. But when I got access in June of last year, I mean, there's been improvements since then, but really they made sure when it rolled out, I could access my calendar. I could control my lights. I can't think of hardly anything I couldn't do now, except I think For a little while, they were a little paranoid about cooking implements, like I couldn't control my microwave. Only in the last 2 to 3 months did some of those appliances I get access to that I didn't have access to before. But yeah, generally, all the actual functionality really has been pretty outstanding from the get-go.
Yeah, really. I was curious about your experiences, and I'm kind of intrigued because I think I tried it about the same time. I think maybe I got it in July or August though. But about that same time, I was thinking this is going to be like a new thing. It'll be like, what I get with the live conversation with GPT, but better because, it's my smart speaker and it's got all my services already, and I can do way more with it. And it's always there, like it or hate it. It's always available to listen. When I tried it, so cooking implementations not working is actually an interesting point because that actually was my reason for switching back, mostly because I've rambled and raved and about that before on this podcast, a while ago, but I couldn't control my Kosari air fryer. And so that was kind of the difference between.
So you were into the same thing I was. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That wasn't unique to you. I think it was just some sort of weird safety precaution. They had it for a lot of people. Yeah.
It kind of is. And now they have kind of updated it, much to my dismay, to where you can send requests, at least, I don't know if it's to everything, but at least my Blavoy, you can send requests to it and it will like send the temperature and time, but you have to go over and push the start button, which the only reason I'm using this feature is because I can't really, and nor do I want to do something like Orion, even if as amazing as that thing is.
I haven't figured that out yet either, if there's a liability or some sort of legal precedent here in the US, because there's similar things surrounding washing machines and dryers.
Yeah.
Like you can set up all
true.
the settings, but then you still got to go over and push one button usually to initiate it. So I haven't,
But yeah, for perspective, I can yell at any smart speaker to start up my robot vacuum, and this thing is autonomous and can roll around and run over my foot and my dog's tail. And in my mind, argumentatively, or arguably, it probably could do a little bit more things if, misactivated than a air fryer. Of course, you could, anybody could just turn on your air fryer remotely for an hour at like 450 degrees and with nothing in it. That would be horrible. But I mean, and it used to be that way. You used to be able to just say, air fry and at X amount of degrees for X amount of minutes, and boom, it was.
What I'm hearing is you just get to buy a new air fryer, one of those new doubled ones,
Actually, if I get a new air fryer, this is going to surprise some folks, but it's going to be analog. It's going to have mechanical knobs and a little bell that goes ding when it's done, and it will not have any Wi-Fi or software updates or any of that fancy pants shenanigans. And
I hear you.
Oh, so really, as far as Alexa Plus goes, I mean, I kind of looked at it as, this is Chat GPT in a smart speaker, but I mean, there's way more to it than that. And I think they're using Claude actually as their underlying AI model.
They have a if you ever look at the financials, it is mind-boggling how much Amazon has invested in Anthropic. I mean, even going back to when I think David Limp was leaving before Panos, I mean, we're talking huge amounts of money. So yeah, I would suspect there's a lot of Claude in the A-Lady. I'm sure there's some other things too, but I definitely think Claude's a big part.
Yeah, you can, like, if you get familiar enough with these LMs, the language models, of course, but you'll become familiar with their speaking styles, their communication styles, the way they handle work, and the way they can handle projects and other things. And I mean, the fact that we've gotten to a point now where it's less of a QA and more of a project, I don't know, assistant and super whatever you want to call it. I mean, is definitely, it's really, in a broad sense, it's quite new. In fact, really, what feels genuinely new as far as Alexa Plus is concerned? What really, to you, differentiates it from the classic A-Lady?
So I was just talking, I think, in fact, there's some on Double Tap about this recently. Things that got me, like surprises, like, I knew what AI was, and I'd been talking to AI bots on my phone, all along up last year. So, I got an idea, what can be done, but things that got me were like, whoa, I can do what? One is, of course, the A-Lady, and this has always been true, but even more so now, the ability to find an artist or musician or podcast and not necessarily have to have the verbatim thing is super cool. That I expected, I think. But things I didn't expect were like, this one's taken me totally by shock. is shopping on A-Lady. I would have never shopped in the past on A-Lady before. I mean, I think I did buy something once just to say I did it. I think I bought a Rubik's Cube that was like $2 just to test it and see how it worked. But I would have never thought shopping would have been my thing. But it has become like 75% of the stuff I've ordered in the last 3 months has all been by voice. And it started off real simple, like staples, like, oh, I need some paper towels, or I need some coffee, or I need this. And what's amazing is I can be talking to her and say, okay, how many ounces of coffee is in that bag? And she comes back. And I go, oh, is that a better deal than Pete's coffee? Oh yeah, that's $2 cheaper. Or I have a food allergy. Sometimes I'm looking at stuff. Hey, is there dairy in that? Is there wheat in that? Look at the ingredients. She'll come back and tell me, oh, it doesn't? Okay, well, yeah, add that to my cart. Breakouts like how many sheets, let's break the cost out. How much does that cost per roll? Oh, that's not a very good deal. I don't need that. So a lot of that really surprised me. And one of the agentic components they've added just in the last couple of weeks, in fact, they even announced yesterday is on the website now, is you can set what's called a deal alert, which it means that when the price drops to whatever you specify, you can get a jingle or a notification. Or this is even crazier. You can say, when that coffee maker hits $100, I want you to buy it. And she'll just buy it for you. And that's wild, man. I'm like, man, that is super cool. It's like, I feel like eBay all over again from 25 years ago when you're like sniping somebody at the last minute on an auction and you're like, yeah, I nailed it, man.
I used to like jump when I heard the eBay chime, honestly. Like I became accustomed to that. And that sounds a little dangerous too, because I mean, I would love to know, hey, maybe this coffee maker's 50% off. I should probably jump on that. But to ask it to buy something for me when it reaches that, I mean,
yeah, you don't have to. Maybe.
I mean, that's cool though. That's cool. You could do it, but I'm just imagining I would set it, for like, buy this pair of earbuds when it is, on sale for 25% off. And then, it might not be on sale for several months and I'll forget that I did it. And then I'll wake up with a pair of earbuds that I forgot I'd ordered at my door. So at least I think maybe it'd be good for it to remind you like, hey, just a heads up, you do have a saved deal alert with an auto purchase enabled. If you still want this, just let me know. So
and you
that
can
you don't
always go
wake
ask
up with
her.
surprises.
I did a segment on it because later I asked the same question you just did. You can later go back to her and ask her, what deal alerts do I have set up? And she'll rattle off the whole list to you and you can delete it, prune it, clear it all out. You're right. It may be better to start with something, staples. I'm always going to buy Bounty paper towels. When they drop to $5, they're at $7 now. Just buy it. And, something simple like that could save you a few bucks. I don't know about you, but in this current economic environment, saving
anything that'll save you bucks. I mean, why? Like, why wouldn't you? I mean, like, it kind of puts it in the same realm as like subscribe and save for me because I've gotten good deals in that too. And but rather than just focusing on shopping, because I didn't know this before because I also was used to the old school way of shopping with A-Lady where you'd ask it for something and it'd say, I found 3 results. The first is X, Y, and Z. Add to cart. And it's like, and that's really kind of the thing with these, really, the way I refer to it is large language model based virtual assistants versus your machine learning algorithm based, trained AI assistant that we all know and love. Even, yes, Siri, but even really going, if you want to go back to iPhone voice control or even Moshi and Ivy clocks and stuff. I just had to bring those up because I didn't get to earlier. And I wanted to just throw you back again for fun.
Yeah.
But in terms of Alexa or in terms of A-Lady Plus, is there a particular, we've talked about shopping, but is there a particular feature exclusively, with A-Lady Plus that is your absolute favorite standout feature at this time?
Well, I kind of talked about the shopping. That's really good. I was also surprised by routines. The ability to verbally craft a routine is incredibly
that's a good one.
Simple. You would think they would have put any effort into that, but it works really, really well. And they even have something called temporary routines where it's a one-off. You just need it to run once. Maybe say the kids are out at the movies tonight and you want the light to stay on to a certain time. You can create one-off temporary routines. Those are good too. But I think the best thing, Evan, that I can tell you that I use the most is it's almost ephemeral. It's hard to describe. I came to this conclusion a couple of months ago, or maybe a couple of months into using it, maybe fall of last year. And what it is I'm not speaking a lady speak anymore. In the old days, I had to say yada yada do yada on, I had all this verbatim speech, like talking to Siri, because she's still dumb as a box of rocks. But with the A lady plus now, and you don't really realize it, you slowly slide into it because you become more and more relaxed over months. And now, I tell you, Evan, if you had to switch back, you'd notice. In a couple of days, you would instantly notice.
I did.
Yeah, it's noticeable.
Yeah, my free trial of A Lady Plus ended, and I had a Prime, but for some reason they didn't reactivate it. So I did have that, and I was that type of person. I was like, what? This stinks. I mean, of course I was used to it on my Pringle scan thing, because I mean, I would be amazed if that if that almost 12-year-old thing could do. I mean, I'm really grateful.
It works at all.
That it works at all. Right. Exactly. Because
Sonos would have turned it into like a Bluetooth speaker by now.
Maybe at least, and they probably wouldn't have at least done what Bose did and open sourced it.
You an inaccessible app.
Yeah, and it's still hard to not justify buying those things because they still have like the equivalent of like the Amazon Tap, which I really wish Amazon didn't discontinue, because portable A Lady, why did we not keep that going? Because that was so nice to have, not having a cord attached to the thing.
Wow, what a throwback with the battery pack and little hockey puck.
Little wireless charger, and it would go.
God.
It had the coolest little charging sound. And it sounded good, really. They did add the ability so you could use its wake word later on. So, I mean, it was a competent speaker, and I just...
Did you ever see the Dash wand?
I had two of them.
Yeah,
and then
you can talk to them too.
Right. And actually, no, I played Math, because when I found out Math Flash was available, I'm like, I bet there's nothing stopping me from playing Math Flash or Monster Madness or the Magic Door, because those were the days. So I totally was playing Math Flash and stuff on my Echo, my wand. I was the type of person, I still am, that would try to use devices totally for their unintended purposes, but just try to push them past their limits. And
meanwhile, I've been shooting a laser beam across the room every time he pushes the button on the dash.
Well, I wanted to shoot a laser beam at these things when they bricked them, but at least I will say one of them did become a great binaural recording when I smashed it in my friend's basement. But, we both agreed on that, because it's like, what else can this thing do? I don't really, there's no debug port on here. I can't just flash my own little embedded Linux on it and put my own thing on it. So it's like, well, darn it, this thing's a brick now. And it was so cool, and they've had some devices, and I mean, they still have some neat little gadgets and trinkety things that have A Lady just baked in. But I think there's some that really I wish kind of stuck around. But
they keep experimenting. So I hope they keep that spirit about them with Panos Panay, that they keep pushing the limits.
Right. And unfortunately, sometimes if you push the limits, though, you might accidentally push out a half-baked product. We've all seen that. And, in that case, too, have you noticed anything, though, that in your case and with your experience using A Lady Plus that still feels broken or maybe a little half-baked, that they just haven't, improved yet?
I was just going to talk about that, Evan. I was thinking about, the future, what I'm hoping for. And it's really connected with that, what you're saying, like a problem. Well, I don't know if a problem. There's definitely bugs and stuff in there, audio bugs and things that drive me nuts sometimes, like a perfect example is she can never figure out time codes. Like, can you jump forward 15 minutes in this episode that's an hour long? Oh, there's not 15 minutes left. It's This Week in Tech. I know it's a 2-hour episode. Come on, just let's go for it. No, I can't do it, So she's really bad at stuff like that. But, and sometimes I felt like they were stagnant, but I'm learning differently now, that they're rolling out in Italy, Spain, Canada, United Kingdom, Mexico. They rolled out these personality styles a couple of months ago, and they keep adding to them. But if I had to say where I feel like they need to take some time, and I think it's going to be a delicate thing, because if they can capture the magic that was the skill store again and somehow get people enthused about it, that would be the challenge. But I feel like right now on the A-Lady Plus, you have access to the whole skill store still. Yeah. But it's the old, for lack of a better word, legacy skills that were designed.
The classic store.
Yeah, they're designed with the old A-Lady in mind. And they really show their age, because you go into the skills and you kind of run back into this old, I have to speak verbatim A-Lady speak. It's like there isn't been a really good comprehensive merge where now I can go into WebMD and ask, these really dynamic things or invoke things in certain skills, which you guys know as a radio reading services, some of the radio reading services have the most complex A-Lady skills known to man. Ooh. And you get back in there and you run into these, I have to verbatim try to say it this way. So I think if they can retool the A-Lady skills into this new agentic A-Lady, natural speech thing, I think that would be tremendous. That's kind of one of the lost things I feel like we want to see, I think.
Yes, for sure. And yes, indeed, as far as when you go into a skill, especially if it's not using the A-Lady voice and if it's a skill that has its own audio clips, it just sounds old school, because really, if we're talking a technical standpoint, they compress the absolute crud out of the audio down to mono. And so if you wanted to play any of those cool immersive audio games and stuff, it's like if you were to play something like that on like the iPhone or an Android, whatever, on the computer, iPhone or mobile device, it would sound vastly different. It'd be stereo. And so I'm really hoping that is something that we see go away. And mostly because we're in 2026, as in like, I think the internet, we've gotten past the point, and I'm really saying this, especially with like, not to go too off topic, but like Bluetooth headphones, like I don't think in today's day and age with the advancements we've made that there is no need to convert or compress the audio into such a lossy format to the point where it just compromises and kind of takes out of the immersiveness of what is already a, voice first game or tool or whatever it is. I am glad that they didn't just, immediately just deprecate the legacy store in a sense, though, because there are still some skills.
There's still things
that
I need access to. Yeah.
Yeah,
this definitely shows its age, because there were old bugs in the old store that are still there. Like I could be in a store and let's say a skill that I have, and I'm wanting to listen to I don't know, a Bible reading for this week for my church or whatever. Well, I'll say yada yada, and the skills were never architected properly to have proper sandboxing. And so what I mean by that is if it mishears me before I know it, it's trying to play Elvis Presley or something. I don't know what a Bible book sounds like Elvis Presley. But anyway, you get my idea. Like it'll like transition into it'll shoot out of the sandbox, and before you know it's trying to play music on Amazon Music when they had nothing to do. I was specifically in this skill to do a specific thing, and now you're not doing it.
Yeah, and somehow yet you're listening to something completely unrelated to what you'd originally asked for.
Yeah, and things like that kill me with my students in the past, that I have senior elderly students, and they needed to do this one thing, and they said it slightly wrong, and now it's not, it's playing Elvis or it's doing whatever it's doing. So,
yeah, I've been on the phone with a few frustrated listeners, and I've, had to tell them, like, you kind of, at least back in the olden days, you really do have to talk to it like a 3-year-old. Just have to be like, stop, don't play that. Or, well, like, it's going to be kind of the best way I could put it.
Yeah, and it's going to be even more confusing now, Evan, because you and me, we get into this natural speech mode with A-Lady Plus, and then it's like a throwback where now I have to speak R2-D2 speak, beep, bop, doop, boop, inside the skill to get it to do what I want it to do. And that's even harder for my students to probably wrap their minds around. So in fact, in some instances, I've almost like bought these, you can buy these like little buttons that you push where it has a pre-recorded like 30-second command.
Oh.
like a verbal command, and have
Like
the
the dog
exact right
buttons.
verbal command on there. Push that button, and now you'll hear your Bible reading for this week.
That's awesome.
And they make those kind of tools for people that have different types of speech impediments or speech disabilities.
Right.
But
That's
yeah,
true.
sometimes to hack around some of this stuff is kind of weird. I'm hoping, like I said before, I hope they branch out and create a new skill store or give us some sort of new functionality allows us to kind of make this work better.
Well, and it sounds like they're going to, and I was going to kind of brush on it earlier, but I feel like this is a better time to actually really talk about this because they are, from what I could see, they have these extensions at least that's what I found they were called. In other words, A Lady is supposed to be able to play really nice with things like, Uber Eats, Thumbtack, TaskRabbit.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, do you think, at least anytime soon that there'll be a point where that becomes a viable option that effectively deprecates and replaces the classic or legacy skill store?
I don't know if they'll ever replace it entirely. You're right. They changed the branding several times on us, Evan. So don't feel confused. It started off as A Lady Services or something, and then it became something else. And then I was like, well, this is going to be the store 2.0. But they never quite branded it that way. But yeah, I'm hoping. Like I said, I feel like we haven't got a big, SDK drop, which for the listeners, that's a new software development kit that's totally retooled to address all the bugs of yesteryear, make sure that doesn't happen anymore, and furthermore, embrace this new natural speech agentic capability, which surprisingly enough, when you step outside the realm of skills, seems to work really well. So like if I tell her, hey, I'm hot and I'm in the office, or she knows I'm in the office because I'm talking on the office speaker, she knows to turn the air conditioner on in here. Or, hey, it's dark in here. Can you make it brighter? She knows enough to turn on the lights and make them brighter. So I think Amazon surprisingly has kind of, I don't know, nailed that in a way. They certainly are ahead of anybody else that I can conceive of. I mean, I do use, like you said, the robot vacuum with my Gemini Nest speaker here.
Yeah, and Gemini's good, but
she even has trouble doing that. I'm like, it's the only thing you have access to. Run the vacuum.
She's got some funky issues, and including like multi-personality disorder. I'll say that because my friend's Google Home responded back in 2 different voices from the same speaker. It was a male and a female at the same time. It was weird.
Oh, that's interesting.
And it's been slow. So yeah, I don't even know if I'd say this is like an opinion, but I genuinely, having used CRI, Gemini, and A Lady, all pretty much equally, SCRI is quick, but kind of like you said, it's basically using ChatGPT as its whatever. It's not its crutch, but
it's going. Yeah, it's supposed to be, and probably
it tries.
I don't think it's fully rolled out. Yeah,
it's pretty much just a thing where it's just like, here, I don't know how to respond to this. I'll just throw it to ChatGPT and then echo its prompt back in 20 seconds. That's basically all it's been, and unfortunately too, Apple has had some sad, unfortunate controversies with Apple Intelligence as of late too, but we won't get into that.
They lost like a $250 million lawsuit about that.
Yeah, they did.
So, and I gotta tell you, Evan, if I could pay money, I'm talking $20 a year, something like that, to get SIRI
plus.
I can't say it. If I could get her from like back on my iPhone 5, I would do it. Because Siri back then, at least I could, tell her to call John Smith, and she didn't say, like, who's John Smith, or whatever. It seems something's got corrupted over time.
Yeah.
Siri is not nearly as good as it used to be, even with the simplest of tasks. And even things like dictation on my phone are moronic. Like, like if one time I say a phrase like Department for the Blind and Vision Impaired, from then on, when I try to say the word department in anything, she'll pre-fill it with Department of the Blind or whatever. It's like, where did that come from? Like,
whoa.
I clearly did not say that. You've never seen that? I've seen it a lot of times.
I mean, I've had the typical like word flub, but I've never seen it straight up put in like phrases and stuff that, or try to autocomplete phrases that you didn't say. That's
literally we'll type it into the field. I'll say Virginia, I live here in Virginia, and she'll think I said Virginia Board for the Blind or something, and she'll type out that phrase just because one time I put it in another text message somewhere. Like, no.
Yeah, for real. And I think it may be why, maybe I haven't ran into it because I already read kind of a bit of what I interpreted as a warning on Apple Viz that, if you're a heavy dictation user, and I mean, as much as I love BSI, I just don't have the bandwidth at the time. Usually when I'm sending texts, I'm doing other things and I don't have that bandwidth to be able to just pull my phone out and do that. So I use dictate quite a lot, with respect to the situation. So in that case, I've still actually kept my phone on like 26.3.2 or whatever on, whatever we've been on.
Now there is a hokey mechanism with A-Lady Plus. With it does some sort of weird Bluetooth pairing with your phone. And it even worked on my iPhone. My iPhone, I have an SE, I think it's third generation, which is like 2023 or whatever, 2024.
About.
And it'll do this pairing thing, and then you can dictate a text message to your A-Lady, and she'll route it through Bluetooth over to your iPhone. You hear your iPhone go do the bloop, and it sends the message, which is kind of cute because the A-Lady does a lot better job at dictation. Plus, you can do fun stuff like when she comes back, do you want me to send this to John Smith? I said, yes, but first make it sound like a pirate said it. And she'll and come back, hey, hoi, matey, what you doing tonight? So, it's pretty neat. I'm hoping a lot of these devices will see interconnectivity with the Gemini, with the A-Lady, our phones. We're now starting to see Apple, pull their heads out of where the sun doesn't shine.
Exclusivity.
So that we have like synchronized text. What do you call that text messaging protocol? It's not SMS.
RCS, really. We have RCS.
A lot of these things now Android can do was it AirDrop, over the air?
You can do AirDrop with Android QuickShare now. I think if you have a Pixel or a Samsung.
And that's mostly because of a lot of legislation in Europe and stuff that has busted this stuff wide open. So I'm hoping we'll see more of that in the future. So when one device fails, we can go over to the other one and make up the difference.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we'll have to get into that really on part 2 because originally, we were going to focus on really combining A-Lady and AI, but clearly we have been able to just solely focus on A-Lady alone for about an hour. And therefore, who knows how much editing I've got, but there's a lot of good stuff we covered today. So I believe, I think it is in the interest of our listeners time that we probably at least wrap up this first part here. Like, I do echo your opinion as far as I hope that they can continue to really capitalize or just build off of that model that they've created with, whatever they call them, extensions, services, whatever it is, because it really kind of goes back to, I don't know if we said this off the record before, but I think it's been such a lengthy episode, but it was that concept of the fact that a large language model is just natively what it is literally the game-changing factor between a device that's contextually aware and that you don't have to talk like a robot to versus something that you end up using for a week and get frustrated with because its command set is more complicated than even trying to get the device working in the first place. I think what I'm excited for is especially when it comes to like these, audio skills, because the cool part about, the smart speakers, unless we're talking the shows, is that, the fact that their audio just universally benefits us as blind and low vision users.
It really does. Yep.
And we have Suno, like one of their extensions is Suno. So I could just link it with my Suno account, which I've done. Yeah. And, I could have it generate a Suno song and then hear it in the same high quality, but on my smart speaker. And it's solid. And it's kind of close to the old, Diddy, the old Diddy skill that we used to have that I sunk days into that stupid skill. If anybody out there remembers it, well, hopefully I bring back fond memories because that was fun. But, without any further ado, I feel we should just wrap this episode up because we've kind of beat the A-Lady into the stratosphere.
There you go.
As it is. So thank you, David, for joining us. And everybody stay tuned for part 2. It all really ties together into David's technical background. I don't really like to say accessibility or technical journey anymore. I just personally on this podcast, I have overused the word journey. Therefore, I'm going to try to not use that anymore because boring.
How about nerdum? Dave's nerdum background.
Nerdum background. I'm gonna need to reach out to you if I need like names for stuff. And I'm like, because yes, I could brainstorm it with GPT, but it's still fun to human create things.
Yeah,
There's nothing wrong with that. But yeah, thanks a lot for joining us. It's been a fun time. It's going to be an even more fun time part 2.
Yeah,
we're going to have to be very, very careful because look at how long this is. But at the same time, that's the fun part about podcasting. And when it comes to two geeks sitting in front of microphones, well, you never really know where it's going to go.
Yeah. Well, it was a pleasure being here with you, Evan, and the listeners, and it's great to be here.
Yeah.
If anybody wants to track me down, like I said,
yes, please.
8 seasons. I'm still doing the show, Echo Tips Podcast. You can find me in all the podcast players, and you can find me on YouTube as well. Although I'm buried on YouTube, so the easiest way to get there is to go to my domain name, Cert Doctor. That's CERT, like certificate, and then Doctor, DOCTOR.com/YouTube, and that will bounce you right over to the YouTube channel.
Nice.
And that's probably the easiest way to tell you to do it. And I even have something up on there that I got Braille Sonar up and going again, mostly doing some vibe coding, but maybe that's a discussion for a future show. But it was great. It was great being here, Evan.
Yes, it was great having you on. Thank you, David. And we will see you again in about a week. So yeah, this has been, of course, another episode of Blind Level Tech. If you've got any feedback for us, be it any questions, comments, or suggestions for the production team, myself, Jonathan, Jennifer, whoever it might be, or just any sort of feedback that you would like to share with us, feedback lines are always open, feedback@aftersight.org. Of course, voicemail 720-712-8856. And of course, on our YouTube page, you can leave comments on our videos. We are checking those comments at least at a minimum once a week and responding to those. And those totally count all the same as feedback if you want to leave it there. So, leave it. If you have any suggestions for guests, that is definitely also greatly appreciated. If you'd like to be on the show to talk about a particular tech topic, just the only thing that's stopping you is hitting the send button. So in any event, thank you all for listening. I'm your host, Evan Starnes, and I will ramble at you guys again next week.